Welcome to Fringe Pop 321, the show that believes the world is stranger than we think, but thinking should not be strange. We have Carl Teichra back with us once more. And Carl, I want to ask you a very specific question. Again, I follow you on Twitter, just follow a little bit what you're doing. And you were recently at the Parliament of World Religions. And that just sounds so, what's the right word for it? So spiritual, so uplifting, okay. What in the world is that?
The Parliament of the World Religions is the largest interfaith gathering that we have. It takes place every 3 to 5 years. The first one in terms of our modern era was 1993. The very, very first one took place in 1893, within 1993. And now, 2018, the last Parliament that happened took place in Toronto, Canada. And its theme was love and inclusion. Wonderful theme.
What else?
Wonderful theme. I attended the one in 2015 in Salt Lake City, and this one had in Toronto had about 7,500 religious representatives.
7,500.
Yes, the one in Toronto, the one in Salt Lake City was more. It was closer to 10,000.
Wow.
Representing approximately 200 different faiths, sects, creeds, religious movements, everything from the more unusual, like cow dye, all the way up to having representatives from the Vatican.
So who gets to go to this? Do you have to be a priest? Do you have to be some official status?
No, you don't have to have official status. It definitely attracts people with official status. There's a lot of people with official status. There's a lot of people who are understood to be religious experts, or that they have a voice as a religious activist. Anybody can go. You do have to register, and there's actually a number of steps you have to take to attend.
So are those vetting? Is that vetting on their end? Or?
Not so much. I think it's more or less them trying to get a handle in terms of just the infrastructure needed for the event itself.
Right. Yeah. What they can expect. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Now I have been to other interfaith events, including interfaith events that are far more closed doors, but this one is very open. And it's world recognized. It's understood as being an event that sets the trends in terms of narrative, in terms of language, in terms of how progressive religions will look at themselves and look at the world. And so
I'm wondering, what is the role of denominational superstructures here? Because you would tend to think that, okay, let's just say Roman Catholicism,
right,
or Presbyterian Church USA or something like that.
Right.
I mean, they have their own interests, and you have to figure that the people at the top of those structures want to maintain authority.
Right.
So do they surrender authority when people go to this thing? I mean, why would they send somebody there?
Because you're all playing a game of harmony.
Okay.
It's not unity in the sense you're going to take away your diversity. Your diversity remains. But you're all coming together looking for a new narrative, going back to myth, a new myth of how to bridge humanity as one. They are going with that onist worldview. They make no bones about that. That is certainly a huge part of this event. And you are preached oneness from beginning to end. They are going with the belief that they can make the world a better place. It really becomes politics. This is really a type of spiritual politics. I entitled a chapter in my book, Spiritual Politics on the Interfaith Movement, because it is spiritual politics. So you come together representing diverse faiths, diverse religions, knowing that sometimes those religions will have a larger constituency than national governments. And so how do you bring about world change and world transformation? Religions play a huge role because they can shape.
Yeah, okay.
They can shape the narrative, and they can shape how their constituents think.
So in terms of driving toward a goal, is this viewed as a way to circumvent political structures?
Absolutely.
Okay.
A lot of talk of this being this dismantling sovereignty. In fact, at the 2018 Parliament, Nationalism was a really dirty word. I mean, really dirty word. You are a nationalist supremacist if you engage in, let's say, a patriotic love of your nation. We are working for an international, new international mindset, a new international consciousness. These aren't, by the way, these aren't just religious leaders going. There's a lot of people attending from the United Nations and from other international political entities. So we had senior advisors from the from the United Nations. We had people involved heading up NGO committee groups at the United Nations. We had a former Canadian Prime Minister who attended. We had people involved from all levels of politics. The Mayor of Toronto was there. When I was at the 2015 Parliament, Al Gore's daughter, Karina Gore, was a member of the Parliament. Al Gore couldn't make it, so he sent us a nice personalized video for all of us at the Parliament. And then because that year was the Paris Climate Change Conference, the Parliament basically dubbed Karina Gore as their ambassador of climate change. And we put together statements and declarations on climate change and sent her off, pushed her off to Paris, where she engaged in politics.
So, would you say that the agreed upon goals of this unification, this oneism, religiously, would you say that those transcend or are viewed as more important than individual religious positions on things? Okay.
Yes. But then you have to ask the question: what is the unifying principle?
Yeah.
There's a couple of unifying principles.
So what? Yeah, I want to make sure we hit two things. So what's the goal? That's the unifying principle, and I don't want to forget this. But who, if we went there, who would we be surprised to see? Okay, so go ahead. Let's hit the goal.
Wow. The unifying goal, the unifying principle is that, well, there's a couple of unifying principles. Number one, we are all working together to try to build heaven on earth. Okay, there's no bones about this. This is exactly how it's being described. The closing statements of the 2018 Parliament was, and this is their language, we are engaged in an act of salvation. We are saving the world. And in saving the world, we save ourselves. Okay, so this is a salvific message. The other unifying at a more religious, personal level is how do we find unity? Where do we find this sense of unity? It's in the mythic and in the mystic. It is the recognition that you can keep your religious diversity. The Hindu will be the Hindu. The Christian will be the Christian. The Buddhist, pagan, we will all retain our diversities. But our unity comes in that we can all experience a sense, a feeling of communitas, of oneness. We can experience a sense of oneness in our community, the ecstatic energy that takes place, our dopamine, our adrenaline, our sense of that mystical experience.
So it's not a forced erasure of distinction.
No.
It's that the distinctions...
It's a perennial acknowledgement.
Okay. All right.
So we're all spiritual. We all feel the same spirituality. We had one session in 2015 that brought that out in spades in a big way. We had a group of maybe 300 in the room, representing probably 15 or 20 different religions. The moderator asked us all to raise our hands or shout out that aha moment in our religious conversion experience. And so people were shouting out words like transcendence and love, unity, peace, oneness, words like that. And then the moderator stopped and said, listen to yourselves. You're all saying the same thing. You're all speaking the same language. And he made it very clear that it's not at the level of theology where we're coming together. We're coming together at the level of experience.
Okay.
And that's where the enchantment takes place. Because we're all going, ooh, maybe we really are one. The other aspect that comes out at the Parliament of World Religions, and it did in 2015 and did again this time in a major way, was that we're all doing this because we all share an allegiance to the earth. We're all doing this to protect our mother. And so at this Parliament and at the previous Parliament, we had a red tent temple set up. This was the womb of the Parliament. Serious. This is the womb of the Parliament, where you can go and, as a woman especially, though a man can join as well, you can celebrate your divine flow. And at the 2015 Parliament, we had many, many images depicting the goddess in her various guises. We were told that we were Mother Earth walking, and this is really the embracing of the sacred feminine, the divine feminine. But there's also a recognition that that's part of this whole new myth that we're building.
Do you think that was more overt paganism
Oh,
this time?
very much so.
Okay.
Very much. And the one other...
Why would they feel safe to make it more overt now?
Oh.
What do you suppose?
Okay, this is one of the beauties of the Parliament. If you want to look at the success aspect of it, in terms from their point of view, and it came out at this Parliament that the pagan revival that we've had here in the Western world, and we've had a very significant pagan revival, it received much of its legitimacy at the 1993 Parliament of World Religions. And see, this is one of the important aspects of what the Parliament does. It legitimizes. And so the pagan world saw that they were being legitimized through the Parliament. The Wiccan community saw legitimacy through the Parliament. And the Parliament, in turn, gave them that legitimacy, gave them a platform, gave them a voice. So at the 2018 Parliament, the religion that was put on a pedestal and was given legitimacy was ayahuasca. We were now legitimizing the ayahuasca experience, where you would drink the tea, drink the Kool-Aid, and have that experience with the plant spirits, and have that sense of oneness, psychedelic oneness, a spiritual commune with nature.
All right, so back to the other question I don't want to
Yes.
let dangle.
Yes.
Who would we be surprised to see?
This year, Jim
At this-
Wallace from Sojourners.
Oh.
Okay. 2015, Brian McLaren, who gave in 2015, McLaren gave the plenary address on climate change, where he wasn't really sure whether he loved God because he loved the earth, or whether he loved the earth because he loved God. He even told us, he just wasn't sure. And this year, Jim Wallace, and again, the Parliament was right at the midterm elections that you guys were having here in the United States, so the Parliament was really tense regarding the elections. Jim Wallace made it very clear that and his language was venomous, really it was, that the midterm elections was really a national referendum on white supremacy, and that Trump was unleashing the worst demons, and this was really an election between the demons and the angels, and that the evangelical community has traded off Jesus for political power. He wasn't the only one, by the way, Mike.
Right, and they're not interested in that. Yeah.
Exactly, and all through the event, you had that same rhetoric, that same anger, to the point where at the end of the Parliament, a progressive Baptist minister had been working on a Buddhist sand mandala of the Hindu goddess Kali, the goddess of death and destruction, holding Supreme Court Justice Kavanaugh's bloodied severed head, and having a ring of severed heads of those who confirmed Kavanaugh around Kali's belt. And then at the end of the Parliament, they did kind of a dance invocation to Kali, and destroyed Kavanaugh and the mandala as a sacred symbol
like
of their anger.
Yeah.
Yes, remember though, when we began our conversation, I told you what the Parliament theme was: love and inclusion.
Well, I have to say that was disturbing. I mean, that's not quite what I expected to hear. I mean, a little bit. You know,
Right.
I'm not surprised, but
Right.
the
It's
very
spiritual politics, Mike. It's spiritual politics.
yeah. I mean, just so willing to violate their own theme and pretend that they're not doing it. It just, what can you say?
Right.
Yeah. Well, boy. I'm sure we could go on and on about this. I mean, now I want a roster of who's there, because I'd probably, because my field is religious studies and biblical studies, I would be really curious.
There are names you would recognize.
Yeah, that's something I'm going to have to try to find and discover, just for my own curiosity.
We'll talk afterwards.
Yeah. Well, thanks for doing this with us, and I certainly learned something. I'm sure the viewers did, and for our viewers, thanks for sitting in on our conversation once more. And please visit our YouTube page and our website for companion information. And if you're interested in supporting what we do at Fringe Pop, please visit our Patreon page. That is patreon.com/FringePop321. And remember, what you know may not be so.